And our Senegalese foreign minister gave a really passionate endorsement of this idea of an African Union, United States of Africa, in place by 2017. Were you convinced by that?
Well, as I said earlier, that we shouldn't try to force everybody to join the African Union. We have to understand that some countries may not be prepared. Having said that, if there needs to be other states that are ready to join, why not? Why not?
Well, he talked of gazelles sprinting
exactly.
ahead and very heavy African elephants just kind of trying to catch up with these little gazelles. It sounds a bit unrealistic, a bit like the, two-speed Europe we used to discuss here in the 1990s.
Because, for example, tensions between Congo and Rwanda are not going to disappear just because there is the superstructure, or that is the African Union. So we have to understand the reality. Now, with time, absolutely I am convinced that the idea of the African Union will be a reality. And now, if I may, there is an important point that Mr. Tidiane was making in terms of the need for the debate, the need for the discussion. Everybody has to take part, and that's what I said earlier, in terms of involving the people, because if the people are not involved, it won't be credible. And what we need to avoid is a situation whereby the people of Africa will regard the African Union as a creation of the leaders.
Well, this is exactly the problem of
the
European Union,
It will alienate the people, exactly.
Exactly the problem
That's
of the
what
European
we have
Union.
to avoid.
Well, what about then going out to the people? I mean, the Senegalese foreign minister said he's going to have a very hot debate in Senegal right now. I'm sure it's going on in Dakar as we speak. But, I mean, many, many African countries and leaders are not known for their closeness to the people, apart from occasionally at election time when they may electrify a village. What is the best way of getting the people involved, would you say?
Well, I think it's civil society has got to come on board. We need all the NGOs on board. We need medias like this one and so many others. Both we need all the print media to go, and also the radio stations, because a lot of our people who are in the suburbs and the villages don't have access to television.
But when it comes to this idea, Ayo, of this African Union becoming a United States of Africa, when I go to the country of Ghana, say, and I speak to local people, I don't get a sense that they want some United States of Africa. They don't even know their local MP, let alone knowing their, United States of Africa parliamentarian or African Union representative. This is pie in the sky for the ordinary everyday person who has to deal with healthcare, who has to go to market, deal with all the things that he doesn't have. He's not worried about this United States of Africa. Come on.
Well, he's got to be, because the United States of Africa represents the semblance of what Africa is all about, coming together. And I think the key aspect is the fact that Africa is tribally led. And we decide in terms of our leaders, in terms of elections, based on tribal settings.
It's
funny
because, you say this tribally led, and normally me, being born and raised here, I hate this word tribe. For me, it has all these terrible connotations of people running around primitively, and not organized, and often the Europeans here talk of Africa being all about tribes, whereas the Europeans are about civilization. But you use the term tribe yourself, I notice.
Yes, because it shows an affiliation to a particular group who you've got some level of commonality. The problem with Africa is that we have too many of them. And as a result, we have this level of divide, which calls about the tribalism that we have. So I think Africa has to, and Africans have to sort of put away their differences and start working together and put away this element of tribal aspects to their game. But it's going to be difficult because we've always made decisions purely on tribal lines. How on earth are they going to accept someone who's going to be in charge of the African Union, who may be part of a different tribe altogether?
Who may be an Arab from the north of Africa.
Who knows?
Could very well be. Well, many of my Muslim friends talk of this Ummah, this worldwide brotherhood and sisterhood, which means that if you're a Muslim living in London or Toronto, you feel the pain of a Muslim in Chechnya or in, say, the Philippines, if there are some Muslims there, mainly Catholic, or even in Malaysia. Do we not need almost a new African religion, not Christianity, which is very, very deep and powerful there, or Islam, but something that really genuinely connects Africans wherever they are in the world, so that an African who is hurt in one place will get the support of an African in another place?
Well, it's not so much a religion that we need as a sense of historical pride and also acknowledgement of where we are coming from. If we realize that Africa has suffered so much out of being divided, we will absolutely find a solution, which is uniting ourselves, but also understanding that we need to be masters of our own destiny. And how do we achieve that? We achieve that by becoming sovereign. And sovereignty, I do believe, will be coming from us being united. And in terms of, you talked earlier about the tribes and the ethnics. I do believe that the reality is there, that there are ethnic groups in Africa. However, the reality is, in the past, that has not prevented us from building big empires, like the Ghana Empire and the Congo Empire.
Great Zimbabwe,
past,
of course, yes.
Exactly. In the past, what has happened in the recent history of Africa is that the differences have been manipulated by politicians and by outsiders, such to divide us rather than allow us to be united. And these are the issues that we have to overcome. And how do we overcome that? We overcome that by, for example, the African Union, and also understanding that our differences have never ever been a problem in terms of uniting us.
But Sylvia, if I can just touch on that. I mean, we use Somalia as a perfect example, where you've got one dominant tribe, one dominant group of people who belong to the Muslim group, and you have customs which are very unified. But yet still, for all that unification, we've got wars and endless anarchy on that land. So how else do you explain?
But you are making the point I was making earlier, that there are external powers that are dividing us, and the fact that Somalia has a strong one religion or also a strong ethnic group has never been a point in terms of when it comes to dividing the people. They will use anything. And
yet the people are so ripe to be divided. Now, that's one of the key points, isn't it? Telling a person that this person over there is the Antichrist or some kind of cockroach, go and kill him. So during times of stress, a leader can rise up and then you have a genocide like you had in Rwanda. Why are people in certain parts of Africa so susceptible to this?
It's a human thing. It's not an African thing or a regional African thing. It's a human thing. So to understand where we are coming from, casting yourself back in history and imagine how was the territory that was to become the United Kingdom 50 years after the departure of the Romans. They were not a united people talking about democracy and unity and rights. It was basically small clusters of tribes.
Yes, they were swathed in ignorance. It was the Dark Ages.
One another.
It was the Dark Ages, 460 AD. 460 AD, but we're now in
centuries and centuries.
2009.
But the human experience doesn't change in the sense that it takes time to build the national consciousness. It takes time to build the national unity that is needed to have the national awareness. So, of course, it will be very, very easy to divide people because there is nothing that unites them in the first place.